Hello, Internet listeners, or should I say, an immortal, insatiable, all powerful being. Welcome to the Caged Men podcast. My name is Cody Bridges, and I am in a prison of my own making. I am on a quest to watch and review every Nicolas Cage movie that he has ever acted in. But I am not alone. I am joined today by a returning cellmate. Katie, would you like to reintroduce yourself?
Hi, it's me, Katie. I am back again, back in prison with you.
Yay. Thank you. Uh, Good to have you back. Hope things have been well since we last recorded. Um, Hope you've had a very Nick Cageful fall and holiday season. Um, but I knew I needed you for this one.
Mhm.
This seemed right up your right in your wheelhouse, right up your alley. Because today we are gonna talk about the 2023 movie Renfield, uh, starring Nicholas Hoult, Aquafina, and Nicolas Cage. This is a sort of a multi hyphenate of a movie.
Yeah.
It's supernatural, horror, action, comedy, buddy cop.
I definitely, after I watched it, because it was a movie I've wanted to see, but it was my first time actually watching it. And my assessment was this was more action movie than it was horror movie.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely got that feeling as well. I had a lot of feelings about this movie. Um it is on the upswing. This is technically better movie than
I
some of
like
the
that.
ones we've talked about.
I like that you say technically, which gives me a clue as to how you maybe felt about the movie.
maybe maybe a little insight into my own opinion of Renfield. Yeah. Well, let's begin sort of there. Uh
Mhm.
with uh, a returning cellmate means I do have just one survey question for you,
Okay.
to sort of usher in your return. Uh, our final survey question from the last time. Give me a 1 through 7 answer based on this movie. How much do you want to watch more Nick Cage movies?
I would say 7.
7. I
Yeah.
would say, for all the feelings I had about this movie in terms of its overall quality,
Mhm.
this is a movie where Nick Cage does all the things all the time as fast as possible.
He's at his Nick Cageiest.
He really truly is. Like, this is, for folks who have not seen trailers for this movie, this is a really recent movie. Not as recent as our last episode where of course we watched a brand new Nick Cage movie, but this is like well
2023?
within, yeah, well within what a lot of folks consider his sort of like weird movie guy renaissance. Like, this is less than 12 months between this movie and Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, where he plays himself, so there's a lot of weirdness in this movie. um
I will
this is
say
about.
one of my I will
Mhm.
say one of my notes that I wrote later on watching the movie, but I can say it now is could Nick Cage really play any other version of Dracula than the one he played in this movie?
this
Because
is
no.
this is his Dracula. And I did get
Mhm.
into the special features that because I got this was last time, was not able to get a physical copy of it because it was such a new movie. I am back to the public library though. I did nab Renfield from there, so that is where I
Oh,
watched it.
awesome.
Yeah. So the Renfield of Renfield, if you're a horror movie fan, is talking about the side character in Dracula.
Yeah. Or a
That is
Bram
the
Stoker
Renfield.
Dracula fan.
Yes. If you love vampire stuff, whether it's the high horror or the classic horror or the romantic modern horror, Renfield is probably a name you've heard. Um, he is a very notable part of the original Bela Lugosi uh, Dracula because the
Hmm.
actor who plays him in that is awesome and he's extremely creepy and he's even like sort of a scene stealer compared to Bela Lugosi. Um, so this is what that movie is about. It's a modern day movie. Nicholas Hoult plays Renfield, and he is going through a kind of crisis about his relationship with Dracula because he's stuck in a loop where they keep, you know,
Toxic relationship.
yes, that's sort of the main theme. And a lot of the marketing for this movie sort of pitched it as a really different movie than it wound up being. A lot of the marketing was centered around him going to like group therapy and talking about Dracula with a lot of therapy words, but he's being vague on purpose. But then people are like, he can't be that bad, but he's literally Dracula. There's not very much of that in the movie, surprisingly. That's sort of a little bit of a lead berry from the marketing team. Um, but it is a horror comedy. It is an action horror, and the more things you add onto horror, the less horror it gets. It's mostly just a very gory movie. That I think is the closest it gets to being truly scary. Um, but we did open my viewing experience. I don't know how you got to watch it if you watched it on streaming. My viewing experience opened with a trailer for Mithrigan. Um,
I was like, wait, what?
the little
Megan.
the, the little girl robot movie and Cocaine
Yes.
Bear. And that is
Two
that
excellent films.
yeah, and very telling with what we were to expect for this. Um we open on Nick Holt in group. He's Renfield is there listening to other people tell stories about their toxic relationships, about the relationships they are codependent in, or about the relationships that they are not not enjoying, that they feel stuck in, all the sorts of things that are very, that you would hear in those sorts of meetings. And he reveals that he is sitting in on them because of his own relationship, which is with Dracula. Um, we get a very neat, in my opinion, sort of like straight up remake of shots from the 1939 Bela Lugosi
Yeah.
Dracula.
My first note was that's not Bela Lugosi.
No, it
Which,
was Nicolas
in
Cage.
all honesty, it took me a hot second to realize like that it wasn't. I had to sort of stare a little. Um,
Yeah,
but
Nick Cage
I
is
did.
giving that energy. Not to spoil too much about the special features, but according to him, he based his Dracula performance on Christopher Lee's Dracula, who he
Mhm.
says is the one
Yeah, he's
he resembles the most. But also apparently on how his dad acted in real life.
which is hilarious.
That's a bizarre thing to say after
And
seeing the movie.
so maybe does Nicolas Cage, are you good? Do you need to talk about it?
It's
Also, the weird connection that I never made is the fact that, and I think we talked about this, and you've probably talked about this on multiple episodes. He's a Coppola, and Francis Ford
Mhm.
Coppola was the person that directed the 90s Dracula.
Yes, the Bram Stoker's Dracula with Gary Oldman
Hmm.
is a Francis Ford Coppola movie, which would make it Nicolas Cage's uncle's movie.
Yeah.
Which is how he refers to it in the special features. He says in uncle's version, which is
In
a
Unc's
weird,
version. Yeah.
yeah, in my uncle's version of Dracula. Um, but Nick Cage is playing um a very a very wavy Dracula, a
Campy?
very he's a I would say camp. I would say like animally, like he's very like loose and flowy, and he's got an absolutely not Transylvanian accent. Like he's not trying to do like the Eastern European thing. He's kind of doing. I wrote later in my notes. He's kind of doing. We're seeing the movie Arthur.
Yeah.
Uh, he's that's sort of the voice he's doing is the guy from Arthur, the
Well, he's
titular Arthur from Arthur.
he's trying like hell to talk around those teeth, and I was like, I was watching and I was like, he does a very good job. And then I realized this is a movie. There's probably some ADR work going on
they
here.
could have done they could have done anything to make his voice sound like anything, but they did have he's got the wackiest, wildest big ass teeth. They are like
They're the
piranha.
Christopher Lee, like, yeah,
Yeah.
piranha teeth. He's
um
not a sexy vampire, and he's
no
not trying
i'm
to be.
no I'm sure there are some people who feel a way about Nicolas Cage, who do think of him as a handsome man. This is Nick Cage at his nearly his oldest, because it's a very modern movie, and
Mhm.
he's very goopy in this movie. um
There's a lot of goop.
he There's a lot of goo in this movie, and he's goopy. He creates goo. He causes other people to drip goo everywhere. So yeah, so he is not doing the sexy vampire thing. He does a lot of Gary Oldman clothes.
Yeah, but he doesn't have his Dracula is definitely not the refined version of Dracula that
No.
we see in the Bram Stoker movie, or even like, any of the other Draculas. And I think also I would say that is, he's like another 200 years older or so, 100 years older. Like, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
And it's the mileage, you get a
Hmm.
little more, you get a little couple more fights in you. And um so this we get this little flashback. Renfield is talking about how, he got involved in all this. And then we get another flashback where there's some vampire hunters there to try and kill Dracula. And Renfield has this moment where he's considering that he could be free of his influence, um, and then ultimately decides that he's not going to. That he saves Dracula from the vampire hunters, and then Dracula goes on an insane killing spree. Um, they they do this thing in the movie only once, and it's probably because it was really expensive. They have Nicolas Cage morph into a big billowy fog of smoke, and then he flies into the mouth of the priest that's with the vampire hunters, and then they explode him into 700,000 meat chunks.
That was
Uh,
great.
I mean, I saw that, and then I watched all the other stuff happen in this fight scene, and I wrote down, "This is a Looney Tune.
Yeah,
This is like the kind of fighting and action in this is so cartoonish." Um,
you're so
he
right.
gets he gets all burnt up by the sun, and they have like a full prop puppet, like animatronic practical puppet of like the burnt flesh skeleton doing with Nick Cage's voice under it.
It's
Um,
like, "Are you okay, master?" He's like,
he's like,
"No."
no. um, so we get a little context there. We get sent back to the meeting. This is the first sort of shot across the bow of this movie that did offend me. Um, Renfield is listening to these people's stories, and what he reveals is the reason he's here initially, even though he obviously also is in a toxic relationship, but he's really here to hunt for Dracula. He's here to find people that are not good, by listening to these people's story and then hunting the um, perpetrators in their bad relationships, these toxic partners. Um,
He sort of goes for
and
the I'm gonna if I must, play accessory to people getting killed, maybe I'll kill people that are kind of shitty and that will make it a little
yeah,
bit more okay.
yeah, he's looking for people who are abusers and people who are, manipulators, so that he can feel a little bit better about what he has to do, which is kill them and feed their blood to Dracula.
Mhm.
But we go into a story. This character is telling, she's crying about things that are very serious, very scary things in a relationship, and then she says he's also really into ska.
I knew, I was
Like,
like, as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh no.
I was like, hey, hold on. And they do like a little diversion of her talking about ska where everyone is like, what is ska again? And she describes it, and then everyone's acting kind of like minimizing it.
Yeah, like
And she's
ska
like,
isn't great.
and then she's like, well, actually, it's really, and she has like a little spiel, and then she starts crying because she realizes it's things she's learned from her terrible boyfriend. Um, but I was immediately like, why is ska catching strays for a movie set in New Orleans, which is known for a great culture of like tons of different kinds of music? Why are they
Mhm.
why are they making fun of ska? And then
Primarily jazz.
yeah, but still, I still
But I
think
mean,
ska
like
is
jazz.
important.
No, no,
Jazz
no,
and
no. But
ska
I
are
mean,
more
like,
cousins than
yeah, exactly.
yeah. And then that's Nicholas Holt, I guess, makes up his mind. He's gonna go kill this guy Mitch and all his ska friends, who we find after they've just stolen a bunch of drugs. Um, they are, of course, listening to the Specials, who I love. So,
Yes. Again,
um,
good ska band. I like ska. Just to be clear, I'm making that stance right now.
everyone's pro ska. I don't know what this
Yeah.
movie has against ska. Um,
This is a pro ska podcast. Maybe it's Robert Kirkman. Maybe he does not like ska.
yeah, that's possible. So they see that we see these three guys. They have stolen a bunch of drugs from a gang. Um, the
From a
Lobos.
crime family. Yeah.
Yes, the Lobos family. So they have all these drugs that are branded with a wolf on them.
Because that's what Lobo is.
It is. Can I say right at the top here? Anyone who's
Mhm.
excited, who hasn't seen this movie, who's hearing Lobos, who knows it's a Dracula movie, who's hearing wolf stuff and all the wolf symbolism, there are two supernatural characters in this movie: Dracula and Renfield.
Mhm. There's a
That
there's a lot of nods though to
there's nods.
vampire legend, and that's kind of one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's reference to, like, but I heard Lobos and I was like, werewolves. It would be interesting if this movie decided to do a little bit of that, but it doesn't. We get no werewolves. We get, it's a New Orleans movie. We get no zombies, no voodoo, no, you know, none of your other horror hallmarks. This is not a like a horror mashup. This is all Dracula stuff. So,
Hmm.
um, we find out that the person or people that they stole these drugs from is a crime family, and then we meet. Uh, we have Renfield sort of bust in, and they're all thinking he's there to kill them for stealing, and he reveals he's not. He's there to kill them for being mean to this woman from group. Um, and we get into this crazy fight scene where Renfield eats a big spider, and then
That's his
uh,
spinach. He powers up like Popeye on spinach.
yeah, his spinach is eating crickets and shit. Um, The way they explain it in the movie is that it's a form of life force. That like Dracula drinks blood. That's where he gets his powers. I eat bugs. It's a life force. That's where I get my powers. So, um, but it turns him into uh like a Muay Thai kung fu fighter sort of expert, and like a super strong kung fu guy. So he's he eats the bugs. He starts beating up the little ska gang, and then uh, we find out that the actual hitman
Which
is
the creature that walks in, I wrote, that's not a hitman. That's a horror movie villain monster.
it's a slasher villain. This is a
Like
slasher movie monster.
it is literally, it's like a splice between uh Jason Voorhees and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like truly.
Yeah,
Where did they find this man? All he must do is live in a sewer and wait until somebody calls him to kill somebody.
yeah, it's a crazy look. Um, and we find out that he's called, I think he's like Jim the Apache or something,
I
which
didn't even
is a
catch that probably because I was like, what is that thing?
so the reason I caught that is because the next thing we get is a little joke moment where we cut out to the car where the youngest member of the Lobos family, Ben Schwartz,
Jean
Ben Schwartz,
Ralphio.
yeah, for folks who are fans of Parks and Rec, he's Jean Ralphio. For fans of Sonic, he is Sonic. And he plays Teddy, or as it was mentioned in the credits, Tedward Lobo,
Yeah.
which I paused the credits to like rub my eyes and make sure I read that right. Um, he's waiting out in the car on the phone talking about how he's getting all this drug thefting taken care of. And you hear him, he's talking with someone. He's like, yeah, I sent in, what's his name, the Apache. And you hear like a beat, like someone else is talking. And I said, and he goes, I know it's a racist name. You tell him. So
That is a good
I
that
was
is a
like,
good joke.
that
Man, I
is,
totally missed
I,
that.
right at this part of the movie, I was like, am I going to enjoy this? Am I going to really like this movie? Because so far it's just like Looney Tunes action and like quick fire jokes.
Mhm.
Um, and so obviously Renfield has to beat this guy up, and he punches his head all the way off, and it flies out and hits Ben Schwartz's car, who freaks out uh, and drives away with all the drugs in the back. Um, and Renfield goes to sort of scoop up all the bodies so he can bring them back to Dracula. Um, that is so we sort of split into what I deem to be sort of the problem with this movie around this part. And that is that Renfield goes back to the Dracula lair, which is the old charity hospital, the real charity hospital in New Orleans that was closed after Katrina. Um,
Mhm.
and Dracula is all holed up there, and he's goopy as hell. And we get a scene with Dracula that I'll come back to. But the other part that happens is that Ben Schwartz drives off in his crazy car, and he runs into a DUI checkpoint, which is where Aquafina comes into this movie.
Mhm. And she is a cop.
She's playing a straight-laced, uncorruptible, hard-nosed New Orleans police officer who has a chip on her shoulder because her dad was murdered by the crime family in New Orleans, and every step she takes, she can't seem to stop them. Her plot's pulled right out of another movie. I felt
What is
I
it?
felt I
Or oh,
not
I
in a
thought you meant like
literal like
copy paste it. Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying.
no, like it is not necessarily a ripoff, but it does feel like someone wrote a bunch of scenes scenes where Renfield jumping between he's at group, then he's killing the people he finds out about in group, then he confronts Dracula, and then he goes back to group. And like someone wrote a bunch of scenes where it was just all those little comedy or action set pieces.
Hmm.
And I think either a studio or a second writer or something must have been like the movie needs something that makes it more story like, and so they drop in this sort of idea of like Aquafina wants to stop the crime family, and Renfield sort of winds up getting caught up in her thing while he's trying to handle his own thing. Every time we go back to a moment that is related to that side plot is where I felt the movie was like dragging ass. And I was like,
Mm.
I just want to see more exploding priests and goop and Nic Cage camping around. Um, but
I
that's
will I will argue my argument towards it makes more sense to me is I think surrounded in this movie of Looney Tune fighting and like cartoonish gore and sort of like quippy jokes. It is kind of a story about someone feeling powerless and fighting what seems to be an all-powerful, undefeatable monster, which is Renfield and Dracula. But then there's the more sort of like grounded real life story of Aquafina, who is a good cop in a bad system, and she's trying to work the bad system within the system and is not finding success. And it's sort of, I think, their two stories, I think, flow well together and complement one another. Um, One of the things I did note, though, about their sort of police force, and I noted this later on after like you get a few scenes with the like inside the precinct and her talking to like their police chief and stuff. I wrote, I don't know, man, this police force is worse than Gotham PD because like at least Gotham has Commissioner Gordon and some good guys in it. It seems like this entire force, except for Aquafina, is on the payroll of the Lobos, of like the town mob.
I I don't think maybe. I think that exactly. I think she is portrayed as the only uncorrupt cop in the entire city of New Orleans. She is
Yeah.
exclusively the only one doing actual police work. Um,
Can
so
I ask you too, so her name is she's Detective Quincy, or sorry, Officer
yes,
Quincy, not detective. Um and you do get like a moment where she looks at her father's plaque on the wall that sort of honors him, and his name on the wall is Morris Quincy. Did you catch that reference?
I did it. I know you've read Dracula a little bit more recently than me.
Hmm.
So, Morris Quincy, I'm assuming, is the
So
cowboy.
yeah, so it's Quincy Morris is the cowboy in Bram Stoker's Dracula,
That's
also a
right.
character in in the movie. He's one of Lucy's suitors, but and he's an American cowboy. And he is actually the person who deals the killing blow to Dracula. He is the person on the team that actually kills him. And I was when I noticed that, I was like, is this foreshadowing? Like, so.
Yeah. That I didn't catch his name. I knew Quincy was familiar. But it's been a little while since I've read Dracula proper. Um, and I know uh he does not make an appearance in the Bela Lugosi, probably because I think most people would have seen that movie and seen a cowboy swagger onto the screen as part of all the other vampire hunters and maybe not taken it as seriously. Um,
Yeah.
But he is an important
He's
part of the actual Dracula story.
he's not like super American cowboy like boots and spurs. He doesn't roll in there looking like Roy Rogers or anything, just for and everyone's reference. But he is cowboy-ish.
Yes.
Oh,
Um,
the other reference that I was gonna say, and I don't know if this is actually a reference or just something that like my eye caught when we see Dracula's sort of like hideout lair in the charity hospital. It reminded me a lot of how the Lost Boys vampire lair looks in the Lost Boys movie.
yes. My exact note when the other sort of the diversion off on the other side of this scene where Renfield is bringing the corpses back to Dracula. My exact note was that he has a Joel Schumacher ass lair
Yeah,
that
exactly.
is
Yeah.
like it is bathed in different colors of neon light. He's got this like wheelchair slash throne because he's been sort of laid up and like half regenerated that is
Mhm.
surrounded with this big like wall of stolen blood samples, like IV bags, like a whole like probably like 10 feet high,
It's
15
very
feet wide wall.
artistically arranged.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, and it's one of those like it gave big Batman Forever energy. Um, which I did
Mhm.
of course right because I knew you would be way into it that would be.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And when we see Dracula in this scene, he is way messed up. So they do some wild makeup in this movie. Um, this being one of the like more impressive. He's sort of like half regrown. Part of his jaw is sticking really far out. His ears are like ripped off. And I found out from the special features that is Nic Cage. It's not just his voice with like a body performer. He wanted to be in the rubber latex suit um,
Oh, yeah.
to
This man
to do the
is
performance.
a master and participant of his craft who rises to any challenge.
I can only imagine that he just wanted to be Dracula so bad, and this movie providing that opportunity, he really does like. There are so many movies I think that I've seen so far, upswing and downswing, where I would describe his performance as kind of lazy or like moderate or like basic. You know, he's just sort of doing what he needs to do to be in the movie. This is so big and crazy, and he does so much, and he clearly thought about everything he was doing because he's fairly consistent even and not
Mhm.
just like off. Yeah, he's so spooky in this scene because he looks so like rotting and like parts of his body are sticking out. But he's still got the big fucking teeth, his big crazy Christopher Lee teeth. Uh, and so Renfield tries to give him the bodies of uh these hooligans, these sort of thieves and gangsters, and he's not happy. He says he needs the blood of innocence. He makes a crazy shopping list of the kinds of innocent people that he would like to kill and eat.
It's like
Um,
happy couples, dumb tourists, and then he also says nuns or cheerleaders.
yeah. Um, so he's unhappy. Renfield realizes he has to like kind of make it better, so he's out again looking for people, and he goes to Mulatus. I think that's how
Uh,
it's pronounced, which is an actual bar
I think
in
it's mulatts.
Mulats, maybe. They never
Yeah,
say it. He
I
just reads it off a pin. Um,
I looked up the pronunciation because I was also like, wait, is this a real place or and it is a real place. But
yeah,
yeah, I think
sort of
it's
like a
mulat.
sort of like a voodoo-y themed like bar restaurant. Um, so he's going around stalking there, but then Aquafina finds the pen also because she goes back to the precinct in this other scene. She's got Ben Schwartz talking, but he gets bailed out by his expensive mob lawyer. And she gets pissed at everyone in the precinct that there's no one there that'll defend, actual law. Uh, and so she goes off to investigate the crime scene again and finds the pen. Not before another unnecessary dig against Ska during this scene. Rule of threes, I guess, but God,
The bashing, the ska bashing is peppered throughout.
it's I think it ends here, but they read like a ska lyric off of a wall, and her partner is like, I thought ska was dead, and he's sort of like, he mumbles like something that's like as if like the city has gone to hell now that there's people who like ska in it. And I was like, come on. So
But
she
also,
is
there's
on the
not
way.
that many people who like ska. Like, it's not like we're
No,
taking over.
no, truly. So she is on the way back to the same bar. He goes to the bar, and then we see that uh Ben Schwartz gets in trouble with his mom, his crime mom. Um and she implies that in order for him to sort of stay on uh on the family and not in trouble, that he's going to have to make some kind of a big move. So he rounds up a gang of people to go steal uh some more to go not steal to go murder the cop. He wants to prove a point that he's not weak, that this one police officer can't stop him. um so they all wind up at this bar, and we get another big crazy fight scene, and uh at the end of it all, it's Renfield's eating bugs and deciding to help people instead of kill all these innocents and bring them back to Dracula. And they meet, and they have a little like meet cute almost, um, by them both murdering gangsters together. Uh, did that feel a little forced? The sort of awkwardness between, like, in terms of this being buddy cop, did it feel weird that they also seemed sort of romantic too?
Um, you're asking the wrong person
I
about
know.
that because I love a romance. My note I wrote was, I hope Aquafina and Nicholas Holt kiss. So, um, no, it didn't really feel awkward to me necessarily. I think it was a very kind of like, oh, you're cute. Oh, you're cute. Oh, now I'm nervous because we're talking to each other. How long is this conversation supposed to go? I don't know. How do people interact with one another? I don't know. Oh my God, I've been talking for too long. Should I stop now? And I also think that, like, like we were saying before, like Aquafina is very isolated in her morality and her sort of hero's journey. And now she probably, she sees this guy who just like kicked ass with her, and she's like, oh my gosh, a kindred spirit. Because I think she
Mhm.
even says to him, like, there's not a lot of your kind around. And he's like, well, what do you mean? And she's like, well, a hero.
Yeah, I think I that moment did not ring super true as like nice dialogue for me, I guess. Maybe I was feeling a little cynical about it in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
but
I
for
also,
for
the the other note I wrote kind of at that moment was, why does Nicholas Holt look so adorable as a dead guy? Because, he looks a little dead in this movie, but he was also in, the movie Warm Bodies where he plays a zombie. Um, I
that's
don't know if you ever
true.
saw that. And he's like, he has the very sort of same look about him. Like, very pale, eyes a little like purple and bloodshot,
Mhm.
like, lips a little blue. And I'm like, he has these like these eyeballs that just, they make you want to hug him.
That would make this his third movie then, being involved as some kind of a thralled or converted undead creature, because he is in the 2024 movie Nosferatu as well.
Oh yeah, that's
He,
right. Duh. Why didn't I
he
think of that?
he plays sort of the, because Nosferatu is very heavily based on but separated from Dracula. He plays Hutter, who is the kind of like Jonathan.
He's Harker. He's Keanu
Yeah.
Reeves. Yeah.
Yes, he is the real estate agent in Nosferatu. Um and he's quite like pale and Victorian and deathly looking in that too. It's sort of his go-to that he's hit that many movies in 2 years in a row is pretty funny. Um so we get through that scene. Um I will tell you, this is where like the most notable deleted scene in the movie comes up. Uh,
Hmm.
Most of the deleted scenes I wasn't going to touch on because they were just sort of extended versions of other scenes, or like scenes where it was like the scene ran a little long and they tried to button it up with a different joke and it didn't work. So, this is the only notably like absolutely cut scene, is that he walks out of Mulat's after having this experience and he breaks out into a dance sequence
Oh, I think you kind of
where,
see that in the credits.
yes, there's some still photos of it in the credits of him like dancing in the street of New Orleans, and he's got like a big jazz band. According to the the little pop-up that came up before the scene started, it originally had a like licensed pop song, and in the deleted scene they just played some like something or other over it. Uh Again, a movie that I feel like in that moment, I think we would truly have like lost the plot in terms of tone, because this movie is kind of a tone roller coaster for better or for worse.
Yeah,
Um,
it's kind of, it kind of reminded me of like Shaun of the Dead in that way. Like
yeah,
how
I don't think
how it's
quite as
very
successfully like splitting the uprights as Shaun of the Dead, but yeah, it has that like whiplash moments of like fun and then sad and then genuine heartfelt and then actiony and horror. It sort of tries to go all across the map. Um,
it does have a little bit later, we're not quite there yet. It goes down a dark path.
it
Just like
does.
Shaun of the Dead does. That which is what kind
Yes.
of the connection that I made.
Yeah. I did write that he's got such sad man energy, Renfield, in this.
Yeah.
He reminded me of uh for Pit fans out there, of the sad wet boy from the Pit. The sad wet
Whitaker.
the sad wet boy that they let be a doctor, with his big owl eyes. Um so he after this night of elation has to go back to Dracula, essentially empty-handed, but he finds that Dracula is already like sort of back into better form. He's got more of his face, still looking real goopy. He's got like a kind of fresh hair plugs sort of situation look.
There's some bits
Uh,
still missing, but he's definitely looking improved.
oh yeah, and he's got a little cocktail glass with some blood in it, and he's sort of acting friendly after the last scene where he was very mean to Renfield. He's like telling him about how you know, they need a plan. They just need to get back on their feet and do a little better. And at first, Nicholas Holt's all like, yeah, that's good. I'm glad to hear that's where you're feeling about this. And then he points to what his plan is going to be. And it's like a drawing on the back of a placemat that says world domination.
Yes.
It's like, it says world domination and it has like a flow chart kind of, but no other words, nothing specific. Um,
Which again,
and
very cartoony.
yeah, there are times when this movie, and maybe this is where some of the unfairness of this, because of me comparing it to movies I like so much better. It reminded me at times of Bottoms. If anyone's
Oh, I
seen the
haven't seen
movie,
that yet. Yeah.
Bottoms has this sort of Looney Tune cartoonish energy to it, where it's like stuff just sort of happens and it's to be funny on purpose, and it's always like an over the top thing. The scene where he's in Mulatz and the when Dracula had just told him to get some cheerleaders and a literal bus full of cheerleaders pulls up and starts walking into Mulatz and he
Oh
starts having a
yeah,
panic attack.
as he's walking out, he passes by the couples, the
Mhm.
tourists, a bunch of nuns and cheerleaders. Yeah, he
Yeah.
literally goes past the grocery list.
Yes. So like that moment where he points to the sign, that sort of stuff, um the ska stuff did kind of give me like that sort of like comedy feeling, and maybe because of how much I love Bums, I feel like this is a little less, didn't hit as big for me. um this scene is what kicks off Renfield's disappointment. He all of a sudden is having like a panic attack, so he runs back to group and decides he has to get advice on how to break off completely from Dracula.
Yeah, he
um
actually wants to participate in group now and get their help and not just sit and listen and find victims.
yes, he starts telling his story. um he's being like classic comedy trope where he's saying stuff that is like, to the viewer, we're like, yeah, literally, because it's Dracula, but everyone else is like, you can't believe that, that's not true. You just feel that way because of the unevenness of your relationship. And he's like, I can't let him come to full power. And the leader of group goes, that's so weird. Why would you phrase it like that?
Yeah, what a weird euphemism. But okay, sure.
And so he decides he's going to turn his life around, and everyone in group has given him advice about getting his own place and about dressing better and about grooming better, and he
There's
throws
like
all his,
a self-improvement montage.
yeah. um they give him a self-help book. He throws all his bugs away. um he gets a sweater. He looks a good deal more like Nicholas Holt in a rom-com after this
He
scene, which is a little
he
disappointing
goes to
because he,
Old Navy.
yeah, he gets a pastel like color block sweater. Um, and so he wants to be back to normal. He wants to sort of break it off, and he's going to just do it. And he goes back to, because he was involved in uh a mass death situation at Milatz. He goes to the police station where once again Aquafina is up against the entire police station. She's got all these witnesses and no one wants to do anything or take their statements, and everybody's scared. And then he walks in and he's ready to make his statement. Um, but he's brought flowers.
So
Uh,
cute.
it's like he brought flowers, obviously for Aquafina, and in the moment it like it's almost as though it dawns on him only when he's surrounded by other people, where it's like, well, no, she's at work, right? So everyone's gonna be there. So he sort of awkwardly
Maybe
hands one
weird that
flower.
I did that. Oh no, I brought these for everyone.
Yeah, he hands one flower to somebody else, and he's like, "The rest of them are for you, though. The rest are for you." Um, and yeah, I think this interrogation or like sort of like interview scene where he's going over the details with her, this is the moment where I was like, I feel like this movie needed to decide if it wanted this heartfelt like thread to be stronger or to just let it go. Because it felt very like, I don't know. I did not feel the chemistry off of these two really. Right?
Mm. See, I did. I thought they were cute. Like, I don't know. I also just like really appreciate Aquafina, like from Shang-Chi, and how like she got to be very funny, like kind of action movie girl, but also slightly a romantic, ambiguous, I guess ambiguously romantic interest.
Mhm.
Um, like I'm just really into that. And that's also one of the notes I made that Aquafina should be in lots of action movies always. I think there are like a couple others she's done. And like especially in one of the later scenes when they're fighting some people near Nicholas Holt's new apartment, she pulls
Mhm.
off some like really great moves and I'm like I'm pretty sure that's her doing that. Um
Yeah.
and she
I
looks
I
awesome.
think she I think she did very good in the scenes that were straight up and down comedy, and I think she did good in the scenes where it was straight up and down action. I had a little trouble buying in just based on the other performances I've seen her in as uh as the straight man cop.
Mhm.
That to me was sort of like, I don't know, maybe it's just because the only other two movies I've really seen her in are Shang-Chi and The Little Mermaid. And so her as like the jump from that to like the police officer who's the only uncorrupt police officer in all of New Orleans was sort of like I just was not 100% like buying it. And
Mhm.
there's a moment right after the first time that Ben Schwartz gets let out of jail or in earlier where she's like out in the hallway and she kind of half-heartedly like kicks a waiting room chair. And I don't know, it just like it was a moment where I was like, there's something about this that it just doesn't. I'm not getting that out of her performance very well. So I was a little. Those are the scenes I really just wanted to watch more people exploding. Um.
You're like, can we go
So
back to the silly gore now?
yeah, can we get a little bit wackier again? But we don't have to wait too long because uh we come back to the apartment. We come back to Renfield's little new apartment that he's just gotten, and he opens the door, and Dracula is there. He's looking much better. He's got almost all of his face back,
Yes.
and
He's got a
uh,
martini full of eyeballs.
yeah, he's got so, and he's sitting there being very like, "Oh, come in," and, like he's doing the biggest Nick Cageiest like big round vowels talking around his giant fucking teeth. Um, this was maybe the best joke in the movie for me, where Renfield sees that Dracula's already in his apartment, does some like calculus in his head, and then looks down and sees that he bought a welcome mat that says "Welcome, come on in."
Yes. Like shit.
He's like, "Damn it! Messed up."
The
Um,
thing that you really get a good look at when you're in his apartment there that I love is just the absolute gaggle of motivational posters that are
yeah,
hung up all around the
he
like hang in there baby style,
he's
like
got the
picture of
like.
an eagle with a word.
If you're
And
picturing in your head the inspirational posters that people used to make memes of the where there would be like the black border and the big subtitle and then the little subtitle and then a picture of whatever. He has those. He has
Hmm.
those actual motivational posters that say things like creativity, and then it's a picture of the Aurora Borealis, and he has about 40, and they're all on the wall above his couch, and they're like
They're overlapping.
overlapping.
It's great. Kind of
He's
shit you'd see in like a guidance counselor's office.
absolutely, and like all just taped to the wall. He's
Mhm.
giving very this is my very first time living alone, and these are the things that I need. Um, So Nick Cage gives this huge monologue where he's talking about how, Renfield is trying to abandon him and he's a bad person and he was the monster all along because he abandoned his family. And he's like, I
Mhm.
never had to use my powers on you. Um,
It's
and you're just,
very abuser 101.
yes, it has a lot of
Gaslighty,
that.
like,
Yeah, he's trying to manipulate him. He knows that he sort of needs Renfield, maybe less so now that he's less goopy, but
mhm.
so he's trying to keep him both close but also feel little. Um, and uh Renfield is trying to defend himself, and he pulls out his how to defeat a narcissist book that he got from a
Yes,
group.
his self-help book. Yeah.
He's sort of half-heartedly reading like the statements from the book, and Dracula's just laughing at him, and then he grabs the book out of his hand and turns it over, and it's stamped with the name of the church that runs the self-help group. And then Dracula flies off, and Renfield realizes that he's headed that way. He's going to go attack these people. Um,
Mhm.
so he busts back in. Um, this is the sort of this is sort of the moment where things get a little rough.
Yeah, this was like the dark path that I was kind of talking about earlier, where it just, yeah, uh, it gets real sad because nobody makes it out. Everybody just gets absolutely obliterated. All these sweet people
Yeah,
that we've listened to their
Renfield.
stories and that he's made friends with, like they're all just
poor
bloody
poor
heaps.
poor Carol, who the first time he busts in to get help with Dracula, she's in the middle of her share time and he interrupts her, and then this time he interrupts her again, and then Carol gets murdered by Dracula when he shows up, and he does a scary speech, and then floats in the air and goes on a rampage against all of these people. Um, and then he flies off, uh, leaving leaving Renfield with sort of the bag in his hand as all the cops show up, and try to arrest him, um, because a side
They
plot here.
they think he's committed this, or it sort of looks like he's committed this mass murder.
Yes, it looks a lot like he's killed all these people, but also he is uh, Aquafina's sister, not the actress. The character's sister is an FBI agent who's supposed to be helping with like the case with this crime family. Does like a DNA run on the blood from the pen, and it matches a bunch of murders across, like, she says, decades. So not only is he under arrest for what appears to be this mass murder he committed of his group therapy, but also for being a serial killer, which he is guilty of.
Yeah.
He
He is like
did,
maybe the Zodiac killer or Jack the Ripper or something like that.
yeah, he's killed a bunch of people to sort of fuel Dracula's rebirths and reformations over the years. Um, so he's under arrest. Aquafina sort of marches him out, and then uh, all of a sudden, there's all these cars are rushing up, police cars, but also the gang, all their cars too. And this is the scene where I wrote literally every cop in the entire city was corrupt.
Yeah, that's where I was finally like, God, they are worse than Gotham. Like,
Like her partner, the chief and commissioner, every person that was in the office, during the other two arrest scenes, they're all there and they're all pointing guns at her. And so rather than go down like a chump and let the crime family take Renfield, uh, she causes a distraction. They drive away, uh, and she wakes up in Renfield's little apartment. This is also where, around this time, Ben Schwartz has decided he needs to figure out what's up with Renfield too. So he goes off to the Dracula fuck mansion.
yes.
He, he he goes to the charity hospital with a bunch of guys and finds Dracula's scary lair, and like they keep seeing like increasingly spooky things like the big blood wall. And then he goes behind the wall and he sees all the corpses that Dracula has drained. And then Dracula picks off all his guys and they have a little heart to heart. And
Yeah.
Ben Schwartz reveals that he knows a crime family, a bunch of people he can get connected with Dracula to raise an army of the undead. See the poster about world domination on the back of the placemat.
Yeah. He can help with the world domination. They can have a
Yes.
relationship that is mutually beneficial.
Yes.
Which is probably a similar proposition that Nicholas Hoult, that Renfield received, in his early days of knowing Dracula.
Yeah. The it is implicated in both Renfield's feelings about himself as well as Dracula's sort of mocking, manipulative talk, that the reason Renfield takes the deal is not because he was seduced by Dracula's actual powers, but that he just wanted to make a good deal of money, that it was a real estate deal, and this was something he was going to try and take advantage of, and it just wound up being what it was. And so the Lobos wind up getting dragged into that. But Aquafina wakes up in Renfield's house. She's got a little wound, like a gunshot graze, that he has patched up for her. She's sleeping on the couch under all his motivational posters. And he's been baking, so he brings her cookies.
Very sweet.
I will
Again.
Very sweet. I will note, just a nitpicky thing. She does ask, "Are those snickerdoodles?" And he says yes, and then clearly hands her a very thick sugar cookie with icing and sprinkles on it.
I thought the same. I was like, that is not a snickerdoodle.
I was like, for all the research of vampire references and lore and magic circles and all the stuff they do, you know what a snickerdoodle looks like. That's Googleable. You don't need to just give a big. Anyway, not the most important.
Not important.
So, while they're there, she gets a call from her sister, who is like, who is like panicking about all this stuff that they're finding, and that she's got something she can do to like help, and tells them to meet her at Cafe du Monde, which I've never been to New Orleans. I know you have. Did you go to Cafe du Monde?
I did, and here is my nitpick. As soon as they, the scene cut to Cafe du Monde the next morning, I wrote, "That's not where Cafe du Monde is," because that is not the view that you see from Cafe du Monde.
Not to skip over some other stuff that happened, but some other stuff happens and they do wind up at Cafe du Monde. And literally the thought in my head the moment she says, "Meet me there," is like, don't meet people there. It's a humongous tourist attraction with a ton of people. all day and you're being hunted by a vampire. Don't do that. Go to Cafe du Monde. Um, so
Yeah, I'm sure within the realm of the movie, it's like, okay, this is a public place and like everyone knows where it is. And you
yeah,
can
and it's
find
a
it.
name you can say. It's a name you can say that it's like it's in New Orleans, and people will like
Yeah.
just catch on. But yeah, I was
But
like, I don't think
it
that's
is
actually a good
definitely
idea.
yeah, it's definitely not the type of place that you can just like roll up. Like you're gonna be waiting in line like to get a table. And it's also like chock-a-block full of people. And that's not where it is. Like that was not
It's
Cafe Du
also
Monde that they were at.
it's
That's
also
not even
just
like
not.
yeah, it's they were in like a different part of the quarter from where Cafe Du Monde is. Because the cafe itself is sort of like tucked away. It wouldn't have been the picturesque shot that they got for the scene
Yeah,
if they went to the actual one. But yeah, anyways, no one's gonna notice unless they've been there.
yeah. So they're rushing out, and all of a sudden they're surrounded. There's another huge fight scene. Um, Nicholas Holt realizes that he's useless without bugs to eat.
Hmm.
So he
He needs a
runs out.
spinach.
Yeah, he runs out. He's digging through all of the little pathetic, like, window box plants, and then remembers that in his self-help montage that he didn't throw away all his bugs. He gave an ant to his little boy neighbor that has an ant farm. And so he busts down the door to their apartment and starts guzzling ants and sand.
Yeah. And they're just like, "You're so mean, Mr. Renfield."
He's, he
Meanwhile,
says he says I'm
Aquafina's
good at
already like
acting.
kicking ass outside.
Yeah,
Um,
Aquafina has
yeah,
gone
he says
full.
he kind of has like a one-liner. He goes, "Sometimes that comes in handy." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's so cheesy. This is an action movie."
Um, they blast through all these guys that are like a combination of like SWAT guys and gang enforcers. Um, in in a scene that stretches reality in all the right ways for this movie. One of the deaths is that Nicholas Holt grabs a guy's hands, both his hands, and he kicks him in the chest so that both his arms fall off.
And
And then there's
then
two
he
guys
starts
attacking.
beating other people with the arms.
He beats some people up and then sees that two people are attacking Aquafina, and so he throws them like javelins, and they stick through those people's bodies into the wall behind them, and they get stuck against the wall. Um, Madness.
This is
They
probably the best fight scene in the movie and also some of the best like silly bits of gore.
yes, there's a
It's
lot
great.
of insane like body part tearing and blood spraying everywhere. they they finish everyone off, uh, and as they're walking away, Aquafina says something to the effect of like, you know how when you see something fucked up and somebody says, "Oh, I've seen worse." This is going to be my I've seen worse no matter what I see for the rest of my life.
This is it. Yeah.
This is what I'm
Which
going to be talking about.
fully fair.
Yeah.
Even which is so funny, even knowing what they're about to go do, like they're about to go have their like final showdown essentially with Dracula. It's do or die, and she's like, I know that this one's the worst.
No, this will be the one. So they realize that they go to Cafe du Monde. While they're at Cafe du Monde, Ben Schwartz makes the intro between Dracula and the crime family. And I wrote, Dracula's gonna fuck that old woman. Because
Yeah, like I wrote, "Hey Ben, that's your new dad."
he he lays on so thick, so much eyebrow work, so
Hmm.
much
He's
like hand kissing and
Tom Cruise level of charm. He is going to talk you into Scientology.
mhm. I did also they they show the outside of the building again of like where their compound is, and I could not help but like it's just too over the top. I what I wrote in my notes was that they live at the bank. Like that building that they're in
Yeah,
is
it
like
does. But it
the,
definitely, not to like go back to Batman again, but it definitely looks like a Adam West
oh yeah.
like era Batman evil lair. It's good. It's on point with everything else that's going on in the movie.
Audience, if you don't want to watch this movie, I want you to picture that Batman had a villain called the Golden Greek. That's what this building looks like.
But also you should definitely watch this movie.
I mean, it's we'll see. It's up to you ultimately. Um, they sort of like gear up to go kick some ass. She Aquafina is at Cafe Du Monde and finds out that uh the crime family slash Dracula have taken her sister, and so they've got to go do something about it. They get strapped up with guns and bugs, and they go to attack the bank. Um, and they show up, and Ben Schwartz is waiting for them, and he's standing there, and he's all excited to see him, and he's got some lines about like about like him and Renfield and all that, and he says that, "Ooh, don't I don't I look familiar?" And he
Hun.
a centipede crawls out of his sleeve, and he snorts it like a line of cocaine, and his eyes glow up like the way Renfield's does when he eats a bug, and it's like, oh shit. But then a bunch of goons come out, and they also have the glowy eyes. But because Renfield is the main character, it's one of those things in movies that happens sometimes where it's like, if you've got a main vampire, your main vampire needs to look the coolest, and his special effects and makeup sometimes are better than everyone else's. So Renfield looks really like cool when his eyes glow up, and it's clearly like the most detail. And then a crowd of Balenciaga models walk out, and it looks like they all bought those colored contacts from Dragon Con. Like they all just have anime boy colored contacts in. Um, so they start this big fuck off fight with all these guys. Um, Renfield uh, is fighting Ben Schwartz. They're going toe to toe. There's a lot of cool action stuff from Aquafina. Um, and then she breaks away from the fight to try and go find her sister, and winds up in the room with Dracula. And um, Nic Cage is dressed in a garment from his own wardrobe in this scene. He's got this red crushed velvet suit on, this like insane
It's very
suit
good.
on. Yeah, he's got the big jewel necklace from like straight up from Bram Stoker's Dracula, like the big ruby gem. Um,
Hmm.
uh, so they wind up having a little like tete-a-tete. It turns out that he's already killed or mortally wounded Aquina's sister, um, and is starting to give her the rundown, try and get her in on the same scheme as Renfield. Um,
Yeah, Renfield sort of gave her like a primer when they were at the cafe about um, he knows how to kind of look into your heart and your soul and know your insecurities and know your desires and is able to like kind of twist them and use them against you. And that's kind of what he proceeds to do with her. Like he sort of promises her that he can A, bring her sister back, and B, he could help her do some good and achieve the good that she wants to achieve in the world.
yeah, yeah,
And then we're sort of when Nicholas Holt finally comes upon them, we're sort of made to think that she's convinced. Like he got her, she's on his side now.
Yes, he busts in not before he does manage to defeat Ben Schwartz by kicking him so hard in the gut that he
Shits himself.
he poops and pukes blood everywhere,
Yes.
and then falls over and sort of like groans. And it took me until the movie was over to realize that is just how he dies. Like they don't like
Mhm.
cut back to him like limping away or something. No, they did just decide that means he dies there. Um, so he sees her
Because
sort of
I think
looks,
he's still kind of like human-y, so he can die. Like he's not going to heal like Dracula
yeah,
would. He's
that's
just going to
true.
die.
But he busts in. Aquafina looks like she's about to take the deal. She goes in to give an awkward Voldemort Draco Malfoy hug with Dracula, very hover handy. But she goes for the switch for the shutters on the windows that are keeping the sunlight out because it is daytime. And she
Mhm.
clicks it once and it doesn't work. And it's like on a huge, loud, like
Like
light
you hear
switch
that
clicker.
click pop. Yeah.
She does it like
And she
6 or 7 times.
shit.
The light goes out. The shutters fly open. Dracula turns into a bunch of bats, but the bats are burning in the light. So he flies off. They chase after him right into the creepy torture sex dungeon in the bottom of the lair, um, where he starts terrorizing them because it's dark. Um, and then Renfield manages to get the upper hand, and he starts using his therapy language with a stronger voice and more commitment and more self agency. He's punching the shit out of Dracula with his with he's ripped his fangs out of his mouth, has stuck in his fingers like brass knuckles, and it looks like Dracula sort of kicks him off and is gonna get him, but he gets stuck in a magic circle. They make Aquafina stole some cocaine and made they sort of allude that you can make a magic circle out of any kind of powder, and so she steals cocaine and makes a magic circle that she learned
And she
off of
says Wiccan Tumblr.
yeah, she says she found it on Wiccan Tumblr. And they hit that word a bunch of times, makes me think maybe either Chris McKay, the director, or Robert Ryder thought just the syllables Wiccan Tumblr altogether were funny because they hit that about 5 times before they
Yeah.
move on to the next part of the scene. Um, and so they they've got him trapped. They have to decide what to do next, and what they decide to do is rip the torture and murder implements off the wall, and they kill Dracula, and they chop him into pieces, and they mix him up with cement, and they pour the cement into ice cube molds so that he's 100,000 little ice cube pieces, and then they
They
bury him
go through
underground.
everything. Yeah. They're like, we're not sure what's real and what's not, so we're just going to try it all.
Yeah. Renfield says something to the effect of like, with all the vampire lore out there, it's hard to know what actually kills a vampire. And he's like, even if he
Mhm.
can come back from this, it's going to take him a while. Uh, so, and then we get a little cut back to the therapy group, and he's brought them all back to life because Dracula's blood can heal people. So he just stole a bunch of Dracula blood off of Dracula and brought all of them back to life. Um,
But
and
now they've
uh,
seen some dark, dark
right,
things that
they
they
do
are
they do mention
burdened
this
with
scene.
knowledge that they don't want.
They have seen the other side of life, and that's sort of the button joke at the end.
Mhm.
They go to credits. No post credits scene. Just this one movie. Probably not going to see a sequel to this one because this did not have a good time at the box office.
Yeah.
Um,
It kind of buttoned up pretty nicely, though.
Yeah, and what else is there to say? What's the point of doing another one of these movies if you're not going to bring Dracula back? And then why bring Dracula back? What are you actually going to get out of it by doing more of them? Um, so yeah, we get to that end. It wraps up. Um, I I feel a little bit like this is a movie that the marketing kind of spoiled for me.
Mhm.
And maybe that's my own fault for how much I'm able to enjoy it. I really thought that the majority of this movie was gonna be what was in the trailers, which is like Renfield having a panic attack at group therapy, and that sort of like maybe just the climax and the end was going to be Dracula. That this was going to be sort of a bottle episode of a movie. Um, so it wasn't what I expected.
Mhm. I was going to say I don't it's been, a few years since the movie came out and I don't quite remember the marketing. I do remember it leaning hard like you said on sort of the group therapy, like working your way out of a toxic abusive relationship. Um but I think that was sort of dotted in enough to carry throughout. Um I mean they definitely didn't include sort of any of the B plot with Aquafina or like Ben Schwartz or the crime
Mm.
family or anything like that, which is understandable because like in a trailer that would have convoluted things where it's like you're watching a movie about this and this um keeping it simple. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of felt that it was what I thought I was going to get.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, the main takeaway I had from this was it was fun enough in parts, but I felt like beginning to end, I felt like because it never settled on a tone, whenever it changed tones, it was just rather than it like you mentioned Shaun of the Dead, and I think that's a good comparison. Shaun of the Dead does this thing where it's like it's a joke a minute for like 90 minutes, and then there's 15 minutes where it stops being funny. Right?
Mhm.
Like, and it's sort of a slow ramp up to that where it's like, as with any zombie movie, bad stuff happens and it ramps up. Things get out of control because you get overwhelmed. I felt like this did too much break checking, where rather than it feeling like it was ramping up to like an emotional core, it sort of wanted to like do like peppering of scenes here and there. And that was I think what took me out of the movie most often was where I would be like, it doesn't have the right like sine wave sort of flow for me. So for me, especially compared to the last movie we did, which is rated below this on Rotten Tomatoes, this is technically a better Nick Cage movie than Con Air. Are you kidding? Um, I was a little lukewarm on this. I thought the special effects and makeup are awesome in this. The like makeup and like prosthetics and stuff and the costumes are very cool. Um,
Mhm. Even I mean, even when you watch as someone who likes horror movies and will watch even, bad horror movies, even when you have bad horror movies, like that production team still fucking brings it. Like there is usually
yeah.
like you can say what you will about the story, the script, the direction, the acting, but like it always looks great.
Yeah. There are no team of people more dedicated to the art of like puppetry and latex molding than a team of people that have been hired to make the effects for a movie that probably needs another month of script work.
Mhm.
Um, I think I would say like another like great example of that being like Critters is a movie
Oh
that's
yeah.
so stupid, like so below the bar stupid in terms of writing, but it's got
very
a ton
stupid.
of
But
puppets and aliens that look awesome. that
yeah,
are
the
really
amount
well
of
made.
work that they put into those critter puppets and like throughout the other, the sequels that get wackier and the critters get into like crazier shenanigans and
Mhm.
like yeah, they are the unsung heroes of the sort of bad movie world. But I mean, I would not call Renfield a bad movie. I thought it was great. I had a fun time watching it. I thought it was very silly and heartfelt. I loved the action. I loved the fight scenes. I loved the gore. Um, yeah, there aren't a lot of notes that I would have to for improvements. And I would also say like it's just a good movie and a good time. It's not like knocking anything out of the park. It's not like
Mhm.
reinventing anything. It is a different take on the Dracula story, and I think doing it through Renfield's eyes and doing it the way of, this is a toxic relationship and how would that look like, or what would that look like in sort of our modern era of like therapy and group support and doing the work.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a very unique and interesting spin to put on it. But yeah, I really liked it. And I think the only thing that I sort of realized like maybe a quarter way into watching it was like, oh, this isn't like there's not a lot of Nicolas Cage in this movie. I wouldn't necessarily call this a Nicolas Cage movie because he's certainly not the star of it,
Mm-mm.
but there's like just enough,
It is.
especially
It is
for
a.
all
y-
that he's doing.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is a movie that it is not about the time you get Nicolas Cage. It is about the uh quantity of Nicolas Cage. He is not on screen for much, but he is a big, big presence, and he does a lot in it.
For
A lot
sure.
of work. To wit, I already went over most of the like extras that are on this Blu-ray. The deleted scenes are mostly forgettable and not really deleted scenes aside from the dance sequence. It's mostly just like extended versions of other scenes. Um, but there are like five behind the scenes mini features to the point where a lot of them featured like repeated interviews. Um,
Hmm.
but some notable things I learned from that. First, the thing that I mentioned earlier, which is that Nick Cage very glibly refers to Bram Stoker's Dracula as Uncle's movie, which is so funny to me.
So
I can't get
wild.
over that. He also reveals that because his family are such big movie buffs, that he saw the movie Nosferatu, the F.W. Murnau version, when he was 5.
Hmm.
Um,
Good, appropriate, age
so
appropriate.
that's a part of his DNA essentially. And the two main people that he based his Dracula performance on, well, two main people and one creature. He said that he was going
Okay.
he wanted to have a kind of snake-like Dracula. Um,
Hmm.
of course, that makes sense to me. He also mentioned, of course, as I said earlier, that he based this performance on his real life dad, um, which is
Again,
fascinating.
questions, but yeah.
But the third thing he mentioned was um, Anne Bancroft from The Graduate, specifically her performance in The Graduate.
Interesting. You saying that, I can see it
Well, and he
a
says
little bit.
she is a manipulator. She sort of
Hmm.
drags, Dustin Hoffman's character into that relationship and sort of keeps him hostage. Um, and he kind of laughs it off and goes like, and sometimes that voice kind of came out. And I was like, I have not seen The Graduate recently enough, maybe, to have caught him
Hmm.
like. But they during that scene he says that and they cut to the scene in the movie where he's sort of fussily drinking eyeballs out of the martini glass in Renfield's apartment, and I was like, okay, yeah, that was
That's
that
funny
was the
because
Anne
that's kind of
Bancroft one.
like what that was kind of like what I was picturing and thinking about that scene between Anne Bancroft and Dustin Hoffman and how they're kind of like circling one another a little bit. And that's kind of what's
Mhm.
happening with with Dustin Hoffman and, you know, Mrs. Robinson in that scene. They're sort of circling one another. There's sort of like a push pull of like, well, I'm going to let you think you have control, but I have control. Yeah, I could see it. I could see it.
Um, and then the last thing is that Nicholas Holt ate a bunch of real bugs for this movie. So anytime you see a
Oh
bug
my
and he eats
God.
it and it looks like it maybe wasn't a CGI bug, it's because he ate like a real cricket or something. He said that the crickets tasted fine and they have a lot of good flavoring they can put on them, but that pill bugs taste too much like bugs. Uh, so
Yeah, I mean,
whatever that means.
people eat crickets and cricket protein is really good for you, but it's not something that I've tried.
It's not on my list there. I'm not eager to get to it anytime soon. Um, but that's Renfield. That's the movie. A split opinion here.
Hmm.
I think you liked it a little more than me, and that's fine. I think that I felt a little too roller coastery about the mood, and some of the performances. But if you're in it, as of course, if you're listening, we all are, for Nic Cage, this is a good Nic Cage performance. This is him doing, he's not understated.
Mm-mm.
He's not lazy. This is him. Someone got news to him that he could play Dracula and he flipped out and did everything he could to make it memorable. He does a lot of his own stunts in this movie, like wire work in this movie.
Hmm.
He's a madman. So in that regard, if you want to get just some Nic Cage action, it's worth it for that. So
He put
um
his whole heart and butt into this movie and
yeah,
teeth and
teeth and eyebrows and some of
yes.
his own clothes, clearly. Um
Hmm.
so thank you. Thank you for joining me to watch this and to do this little review. I appreciate having you. We can sort of wrap things up here, and I will ask: is there anything that you feel like you'd like to plug, or anything you've got going on that you want to share or get folks' eyes on?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me back. Thanks for asking me to do this movie. I do love vampire movies, and vampire lore. And I am probably, maybe by the time this comes out, I'm not sure when it comes out, but you can watch me on Twitch. I'm starting a Twitch stream. It'll be like a co-working, co-create stream. So if you are a writer, artist, uh, crafter, journaler, or if you just want something to sort of like, you know, listen to during the day, if you're into like body doubling or co-working or anything like that, I will be on Twitch. My name there is Marvelous Katie.
Wonderful. That sounds great. I will be sure to put a link in the description for your Twitch channel so that folks can check you out. And of course, we will be returning, and you can keep an eye on what's going on here by following me on all of my socials. I am, of course, Caged Men Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And if you want to send me a message, you have a question, you want to know when a certain episode is coming up, anything you like, you can also send an email to cagedmenpod@gmail.com. Um, and I think that will put us right at the end here. So I will leave you with this final saucy Nic Cage line. I wish to spend a season in hell where all the amusing people are. Hail Satan!